Week 2 is in the books. We're 2 for 2 so far. Welcome to College Football Time with Avery Miguel. I'm Miguel Medina, my partner, Avery Jones. Avery, we love Saturdays. We gotta love them. Football is
Saturday,
here. Yep, go ahead.
hey, Saturdays are the start of a weekend for a lot of people, but when it comes to college football, that's almost like the best day of the week.
And that leads to Baylor and Utah. Baylor, they were trying to get some revenge, but it didn't even come close to a revenge on Saturday. Utah, once again, they were in control. Their defense stepped up once again. Offensively, it wasn't that impressive. It wasn't that strong, but they made the right plays at the right time. They kind of like lost their edge a little bit towards the end, but Utah was in control. The crowd was rocking. You know, it was a feel-good victory for them. What do you think about Baylor's performance in this game?
Baylor tried, and I mean no disrespect on the fact that Baylor tried because Utah was up early and they were in full control, and then they let their defense do the job. But Baylor, scratched clawed 14 points in the third quarter, tried to get a little bit more to go ahead versus Utah. But Utah is kind of one of those underrated stadiums where when you go to play at the Utes house, you have a bit of a disadvantage, even if you have like a traveling group with you. But Baylor was showing some grit. Baylor showing some grit. I hope that in the next few weeks they can come back from this, look at the game plan and see what worked, what didn't work. Also, they need to get their defense under control. A few penalties that kind of caused some momentum stops for Baylor against Utah. So, but a good showing by Baylor, but Utah was just really in control. Even though Cameron Rising got injured, I hope that the injury is just something that can be rested and healed and he can come back. But Baylor needs to take a look at how this kind of got away from them, especially to the point where they were trying to come back and win instead of keeping pace with Utah.
Yes, indeed. And Baylor is one of those teams where on paper they're they're arguably a top 5 team on paper if you look at their roster. So, but as you can see in the first 2 weeks of college football, we have seen some unexpected losses, some unexpected upsets. But that's what we love about college football. We love the unpredictability. I love the unpredictability of sports. So, but Utah, for some reason, for the past year or two, I've grown this interest of like I would like to go to that stadium someday and catch a game there and get a feel of the atmosphere. There's just something about that team in the past year or two that I grew to wanting to experience that stadium, wanting to see more of that team because that's one of those teams that they have been winning for years and they're kind of get overshadowed by these other teams that are succeeding more. So, and I like those stories. I like seeing those teams that they're progressing, they're winning, but they're under the radar. So there's just something about that that makes me want to tune in for more. I want to explore and experience more.
I agree.
But
I agree,
yeah, go
Miguel.
ahead.
No, I definitely agree. Utah is this interesting state that has a really good college football history going on. Not just with Utah, but Utah State as well as BYU. This is a very underrated sports state. And also they just got a hockey team. The Arizona Cardinals are now the Utah hockey team. So if not just, the Utes of Utah, putting college football in their area that people can showcase, but enough that you can get people to go there. You have the special stadium that draws people in, just like a lot of the more iconic stadiums in college football. And I completely agree. You want to witness that atmosphere firsthand than just see it on TV. Like, looks great on TV. It's like, you know what? I want to go there. I want to go there one day.
For sure. And speaking of the Utah hockey team, the company Fansided, which is one of the sites that I write for, I'm one of the new writers for the Utah hockey team. It's one of those sites that it's new because of the new team. So it's me and I believe two other writers. So I can't wait. I can't wait till the season starts so then we can start writing more. And that's another thing. I like being part of something that it's new and fresh because we don't know what will happen in the future. So I'm excited for this. This is gonna be the first um writing. This is the first hockey experience in terms of writing, being a writer, a hockey writer. So the fact that is the Utah hockey team, it excites me. So yeah, that's something I just wanted to throw out there. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Definitely. Okay, so Iowa State versus Iowa. Iowa. A team that was up 19-7. And then, in my opinion, momentum shifted. That deep throw less than 5 minutes to go in the third quarter. That touchdown by Iowa State shifted the entire momentum of the game because Iowa didn't score from there. I felt that it deflated their confidence. They were out of sync. And then it took two field goals, especially the last one at the end, to put the nail in the coffin. This was a demoralizing loss for the Hawkeyes and an impressive win by Iowa State. So, what are your thoughts on that thriller finish?
Definitely a thriller finish for one of the games on Saturday. But the interesting thing is, and I think I mentioned in our preview, is just like Utah, Iowa has an interesting stadium that overlooks a children's hospital. And during halftime, they recognize the children that are there. And this is a interstate rivalry very early on. Usually for interstate rivalries, you usually see them later in the season. But I think I mentioned it. I looked for Iowa State to scratch, claw, get that, turning play to shift the momentum, and it worked. And it worked. Rocco back two touchdowns, one interception, 272 yards. But on the other side, Cade McNamara, he just could not. He couldn't get in it. He couldn't get in a rhythm. Two interceptions, 99 yards. But the one thing, not just the games on Saturday, but I think I've said this even when we started this. If you're a kicker on a college football team, you hug your kickers because there was a point where kickers weren't just making it. They weren't making the PATs, they weren't making the field goals, and some of these were like very easy field goals to a kicker. Now we are seeing in the past couple of years these kickers making these great attempts to walk it off. And I love it. It's not just the point of getting the field goal, it's that the head coaches are trusting their special teams to make it happen. And Iowa State, they did that. They did that. They hung in there, they scratched, they clawed, and then all of a sudden a 54-yard walk-off field goal. And if you kind of look at the highlights, you just see the Utah Hawkeyes just stunned on the sideline. I'm sorry, Iowa Hawkeyes just stunned on the sideline, just stunned. They don't know what happened. And like anything, your quarterback wasn't in sync and your defense was just letting big plays go.
To wrap it up, we have to mention or highlight at least one upset of week two, which I already have one. We're probably gonna have the same one for this one. I could be wrong. I could be wrong, but there's one that really pissed me. I won't say pissed off, but it was like made me scratch my head because I don't get pissed off like I once was as a sports guy. But what's the one upset of week two that you just said, I did not see this coming a mile away?
Miguel, I'm pretty sure we have the same one,
Hmm.
but I think we just have to highlight on Saturday there were four upsets.
Hmm.
Could have been six, you know. Thanks Penn State and Oregon for doing your job. I've always said it, when you're ranked, you're expected to win. But yeah, let's go ahead and just put it out there. 17 years ago, we heard of Appalachia State, who beat Michigan in their own house. And over the weekend, we now know of Northern Illinois. And if you need anything, ladies and gentlemen, gentle people, go on Twitter and look up Coach Thomas Hemmett. The best 2 minutes post game interview I think I've ever witnessed. He
Hmm.
said they didn't need luck, they just needed to be prepared. And
Hmm.
they beat the Fighting Irish 16 to
Hmm.
14 in their own house. And I
Hmm.
think just like we now know of Appalachian State, even 17 years later, I think in the next few years, we're going to know of Northern Illinois because not only was that the shock of the weekend, it's probably the shock so far of the college football season, and it's
Hmm.
probably going to be the shock for the next few years. But man, I've said it before, I say it again. Granted, any given Saturday, but any school who thinks they're bringing these no-name schools to play, to work up to conference play or potential playoff spots, do not take them for granted. And I took a quick peek for this weekend. If you're a ranked team, do your homework. If you're a top 525 team and the new ranking just came out, if you're a ranked school, I would be definitely prepared. I would definitely be prepared because now Michigan and Notre Dame are statistics. But I mean that's probably the greatest. That's probably one of the greatest games in the past 2 years. But yeah, oh yeah,
As shocking as that was, everything happens for a reason. And that, because without that, we would have not witnessed one of the best sports moments of this season. It's very rare, Avery, that we see a coach, I don't care what level, it's very rare you see a coach that visibly emotional after a regular season win, especially at the beginning of the season. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're an aspiring football player or an aspiring athlete, that's the kind of coach you want to play for. That's the kind of coach you want to be around with. He's a rare breed. He's rare. You don't see that often on national television. So that's the silver lining out of all of this. As much as we would love, and we all rooted and picked Notre Dame to win that game. But the silver lining, if you have a heart, if you have a conscience, if you have compassion, the silver lining, that post game interview. Things happen for a reason, and the man above gave us that for us to see. So again, if you're an aspiring athlete, That's an example of a coach you want to play for. We don't know him personally, but that interview itself says everything right there.
Miguel,
That's the
we're
kind of coach
sports
you want
fans.
to play for.
Oh, absolutely. Miguel, we're sports fans. We know. We've spent a long time watching sports, not just the athletes, but the coaches. When you can see a coach not only proud of their players, but they know when they come prepared, they have the opportunity to win. And that's what happened. And you're absolutely agree. We do not coach, we don't know Coach Hammock at all. We just saw a gentleman prepare his team for one of the greatest college football schools in history. And that's all you need. Preparation, the know-how, the determination. And we said it before, as Americans, we love a good underdog story. We love a good underdog story. That was it. That was it. I mean, granted, I'm wearing the hat because Texas just ran over Michigan. But later that day, you see Northern Illinois take down the Fighting Irish, and you see Coach Hammock like absolutely. I'm serious when I say, look up this man's post game interview. We're not just blowing smoke. We are serious. If you are a high school football player and you have a coach that has that sincerity, intensity, determination, they believe in you, they believe in you as a team, then not only that's who you play for at the high school level, that's where you want to go at the college level too. And there's nothing more we can say. We've seen it. We've seen it. And it's amazing to see. It is. Granted, we want our favorite teams, especially if they're favored and ranked to win, but sometimes you got to root for the underdog. You got to root for that underdog.